Welcome to How Women Inspire. My guest today is Anne Myong. She is a public company board director, a global transformational leader, and I am so proud and excited for you to meet her because she's our operating partner at How Women Invest. We are so lucky to have Anne on our team. She upgames every single one of us. She has this unbelievable, powerful blend of financial expertise, but true mission-driven leadership. Her intellect and heart combined really are transformational for us and our founders. She served as the CFO at Walmart with their global e-commerce area, and she's been a startup CEO. Her career has been varied from Fortune 100 corporations, high growth companies, purpose-led organizations like Goodwill and Align. Thank you, Anne. And I would love for part of what we talk about is scaling impact and leading with intuition, all the leaderships, navigating change that you've done at every level in your career. So thanks for coming today.
Oh, I'm so excited to chat with you. We chat all the time about investing in our portfolio companies and our amazing founders, but it's my honor to have a conversation with you directly. So
Thank you for that.
excited.
All right, let's do something fun to get started, Anne. If we're hosting a dinner party with three trailblazing women from history, could be recent, could be a very long time ago, who's on your guest list and what question are you going to ask them?
Three women. I would definitely choose Julia Child because I am a huge foodie and I love cooking, but I think she's just an amazing trailblazer in culinary arts and culture. Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, and Oprah Winfrey. Media, culinary arts, and politics. I think that would be an amazing dinner party.
I think it would. All right, you and I've never cooked together, so that's something I'm putting on my list. If we're going to make a meal together, would you get out the French cookbook or something else?
I would do dessert. I would
Ah,
offer to do dessert. And depending on the menu that I'm sure you would create, I would support you with an amazing dessert. But I love it because dessert is creative and it's also very precise,
mhm.
right? So you have to actually get the chemistry right. You have to follow directions, but there's a part of it too where you can just be creative with your decorations. And who doesn't love dessert, Julie, right?
But the way you just described that's so you, Anne, which I just love. No, really, truly. That really, and so you're like, Julie, you do the vision for the thing, and I will make sure it's executed perfectly.
I will
Um,
execute. Yes.
and together we'll have a lot
And
of
then
good and beautiful. Can you've had such an incredibly diverse background in the United States and outside the United States. Can you just walk through your own personal journey, maybe as it relates to investing? And was there a defining moment that made you really wanna lean into this space? I'm always pinching myself about how lucky we are to have you on our team. So why do we pick
mm,
you? What do you love about this?
I suppose my corporate career, you're always making portfolio decisions, right? Whether you're in a large corporate context or a startup. And I would say that the beginning of that sort of portfolio allocation journey was when I became a CFO because I was so inspired by my mentor, who was a pretty atypical CFO at the time. He was an economist, not a traditionalist, but he really opened my eyes to the different ways you could be a CFO. My first opportunity was to do that in China. And that was like a double click into that journey because it was my first time being a CFO and doing it in a country that was new to me. I'm of Korean descent. My parents are Korean immigrants. They came over to the United States after the Korean War. So, although I probably, faked people out a little bit when I was there and they thought I was actually Chinese, I was not. And so, American born Korean, no Chinese language, and really very much an American mindset in an Asian setting. And my husband always jokes with me and he says, being in China brought out more of the Asian in you, which I think is actually quite true. When you're
What
a
is that?
child
Just
of
tell me more about
immigrants.
that. Yeah.
Growing up in the United States, when I did first generation born here, it was all about assimilation. It was all about being American. and really sort of pushing down your Asianness because you
Yeah.
wanted to fit in. It was really not learning my language, and that was a conscious
Right.
decision in the
A
family.
lot of parents of different cultural backgrounds made that decision in that era.
Totally, and it was what parents were instructed to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, there's a language in the household, but it was typically when they wanted to be private or we were in trouble.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't necessarily a positive, but
Every immigrant's listening to this, everybody in an immigrant family and laughing.
because it's the language and then your name is stuck in there. You're
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm really in trouble now. But being in the culture brought back that familial connection, that deep respect for hierarchy, which is both good and it's a double edged sword.
Well, you
And
certainly don't have that in the United States. The hierarchical respect isn't really there. There's
right,
probably a good balance at some point. Yeah.
exactly. But it was such a eye-opening experience and one where I really had to use a beginner's mind. Even though I looked the part, I was flummoxed in the beginning because there was so much about being in that culture that I didn't understand. I would come home every night and ask my husband, who had spent a lot of time in Asia, was fluent in the language and really in the culture. He would explain to me what I was experiencing. That also freed me to really embrace my North Asian culture. It was a fantastic experience.
So you have a husband, you're partnered, you have a family.
Sure, I
Yeah.
do.
So how have you thought about juggling the career and the personal and also the integrating of building wealth in your life?
Definitely need to get back to building wealth because, you and I, Julie, talk about investing. And I think one of the greatest gifts we can give to our daughters, I have two daughters, is to get them to invest early. I started, even though I was in the finance world, I didn't start as early as I should have. And the power of writing out economic cycles and the power of compounding, right? That is what we need to be teaching our sons and daughters to start early, even if it's a nominal amount. It could be your
Think so?
birthday money. Just put
Yeah.
it away. Our daughters now, of course, we support them financially while they're in college, but we say every time we deposit money into your account, we've set up an auto transfer out of that account. We've asked them to do that, and they have done it so that 10% of what we put into their account goes out into an investment account. So they don't even have to think about it. And we've now forced them to talk to an investment advisor, and they're just like, oh, this is torturous. Why are you making me do this? Well, it's just getting used to this
Yeah.
conversation about where do you want to invest? Why do you want to invest in that? Why is it important to you? And making it part of a conversation and a decision making process early on in your life, in your professional career.
Yeah. My kids are 29 and 32. We also have a Rwandan daughter who's 29. We have weekend meetings about finances and
Mm.
the trade-offs between investing in real estate versus the stock market, and should they hang on to any of their
Yeah.
RSUs. Those are really bonding moments too. And so while your daughters may be, pushing back a little bit right now, and I'm not sure they all really understand compounding interest until you start to see the numbers go up, it's conceptual. It's hard for them to really get it. But the freedom from them and seeing them, they'll come to talk to me about like, oh my goodness, my friends are still paying off their student loans. They're in the hole. They've over leveraged. They spend
Yeah.
a lot of money, and that's painful. And it just stunts so many opportunities for you in life. So to have you as a mom from those early ages, lucky girls. So when you think about other women that are new to investing, and maybe nobody had a mom like you, but what do you recommend as the steps they can take to begin their journey? Do you have any learning tools that might be good for people?
Well, similar to what I said about our kids, it's never too late to start. You can get into a mode of, oh, I should have started a long time ago. It's too late. It's never too late. So there's sort of two pieces of advice, and they might sound like they're opposing, but they're really not. The first one is just get started and don't worry about how much you have to invest today. Is it enough? Why bother? You absolutely should. And some of the work that we do, Julie, is really about giving women opportunities to start investing in an alternative class of investments at a very reasonable entry point. You don't have to be a millionaire to be a venture investor. You can start small.
Yeah.
On the other hand, educate yourself. And there are some great resources out there that are just sort of like bite-sized lessons about economics and the way the markets work. I love podcasts, so I'm glad we're doing this one together. But I mean, even things like Planet Money,
Yeah.
which make it so simple, very basic concepts that if you didn't learn these in school or you weren't in a career where you interface with these topics, it's just very digestible. So
Yeah.
that would be one. I love the Acquired podcast, which is a masterclass in breaking down companies and how they became the companies that they have become.
Yeah.
And it's so detailed, and it's these two guys that independently analyze companies deeply, and then they get together and talk about it and the history and the decisions. Not all decisions were successful, but it was how they pivoted from those decisions and then accelerated the business. I love the analytic aspect of that and how you can do that too for yourself. So it's
Well,
that
and I
kind of podcast.
love doing that with you at work. And so you and I are in the trenches. We're seeing companies we might invest in. We're
Yeah.
making hard, painful investment committee decisions together. And we're
Yeah.
also helping companies grow, helping them through challenges. What are the biggest things you're looking for when you think about investing in a company? Do you have any red flags where you're like, always pay attention to that?
Well, I think the earlier the investment is, so if it's like a seed stage company, there's the opportunity, the general sort of North Star opportunity. Is there a true need for that problem to be solved? Now, how the founder actually goes about solving it will surely evolve over time because it's a very early stage investment. But is there a big enough pain point and a profitable business model to be had? That's number one. Is this a big enough idea? Second, is this founder the right person to tackle this problem? Is this the person we want to take the bet on? Because there are only so many bets we can make, right? Do we feel like this founder is uniquely qualified because of their experience, their expertise, their track record, so on and so forth? Are they a talent magnet? Can they attract people to a team and build an outstanding team? Are there people just waiting in the wings to say, oh my gosh, whatever you do next, I'm going to come.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that I think we look at. And sometimes you get one, but you don't get the other, right? And it's a tough decision. When you see a company that's like a Series A company, like in our later stage fund, then it's really about more customer traction, right? What are the customers saying? Can they live or not live without this solution? Because as you know, some of these businesses, once they get embedded in a business, particularly if it's like a SaaS company, it's really hard to extract out of that company. So there are a number of things that I think, depending on the stage that we look at, it's almost always about the team and the leadership, right? And it's about trust and integrity and talent and grit and resilience because it's super, super hard to innovate.
Yeah. And the trust and the integrity. The other things you can see on a bio are their history, right?
Mhm.
But when you meet someone and you're talking to them, you and I both have good radar. I'm not sure that this is quite accurate. Something's
Mhm.
missing in the story here, and it feels like it might be intentional. That's like a death knell, right?
Totally.
You can't partner with somebody who you don't believe is giving you the honest truth. You try and hide something during the assessment process, it's only going to be worse. It's the tip of the iceberg.
And if they've just missed something, then that's okay. It's really how they handle it. The obfuscation is a true red flag. And I think the character of the founder, the leader, is so important. Understanding their journey and how they have made decisions and why throughout their life and career, it's important to take that bet on that person early on. If it's a seed stage company, we're going to be in it for years, right? And so we really need to feel like this is the person we want to be with for years.
Pivot
Through hard
downs
time and good. Yeah, absolutely.
when the supply chain's broken, when, all the things. Right?
Pandemic, tariffs, and whatever, right?
Exactly. Please stop with the craziness. I'm not asking for permission anymore. I'm not asking for a seat at the table. My friends, this is the first generation of us. We have a huge opportunity. We have power and influence and wealth. And we can start building the tables where we get the prime seats. Today, we want to invite you to join us as investors in venture. I know no one's asked you to do it before. It might be something that seems scary or foreign, but I promise you it's not that different than investing in a mutual fund where your retirement funds are. I want you to lean in and just learn a little bit more. How about making the commitment that in the next 12 months, you can give yourself 12 months to figure it out and to take a step? I want to invite you to be part of the new table of power and influence and wealth. You're invited. I want to sit at the table with you because we're going to make big change. We're going to make the world we've been dreaming of. I'd love to sort of lean in a little bit more on your experience in China as a Korean American. What has your experience been at the top levels, whether it's the CEO of a startup or top level in a corporation where representation has been limited? You may be the only one.
Yeah, I've often been the only one. And I would say that it's an honor to be at that level. It's not that I haven't worked for it or don't deserve it, but I also think that being a role model and being a woman on a board, being a committee leader on a public company board gives people in the organization hope and optimism. Representation really does matter. That you see someone that looks kind of like you or you can relate to them, that's really important. And, I guess being that role model, I take it very seriously, my work ethic, but also knowing that at that level, it's about building relationships and building trust, getting more senior in organizations. Hopefully, you have already cleared the bar with your competence. It's about inspiration, leadership, relationships, trust, and being courageous when you need to be, stepping up and being the leader that people need you to be, whether it's during the pandemic or during difficult times in China that we had to navigate as a US multinational company, or taking on a startup that's not yours and everyone has walked away during the pandemic and you have a choice. You have a choice to either lead or step out because there's good reason for that. But, I chose to lead and try and preserve the company for the employees and the customers of the company. I just think it's a great opportunity to raise the bar and show a diverse group of people that it is possible.
Such a leader full of integrity, Anne. There's so much about you and how you even explain your decision making in your stories that is such a role model for everybody.
Thank you, Julie.
You've led transformational change at organizations, right?
All right.
How do you balance that strategic vision and staying grounded in making sure that you are connected to, a lot of what we're seeing today is people ignoring their workforce or the impact on customers and only thinking, how could I get bigger and make more
Right.
without holding it all in one place?
I think that goes back to my first role as a consultant at McKinsey. And I loved the strategic work, not having it grounded in what is executable or what is both aspirational and inspiring, but can be implemented and executed. So for me, creating an aspirational strategy where you can get the organization of people excited about being part of the team, right? Everyone wants to be a winner and be with a company or an organization that's going to be successful or have a huge impact. But you also have to create a way for people to see how they contribute as individuals and that it is doable, that they have the support, they have the resources, they have the time. So if you have this aspiration, but it's like, do it in 6 months, that can be very defeating. So it's got to be aggressive enough. And so there's pressure, but positive pressure and the resources and the support. And you need to see that your leaders are actually involved as well, like
Yeah.
rolling up their sleeves, getting involved. When I was with Walmart in China and we were turning around that business, we had 17 projects going on at the same time because we had just so much work to do to turn that business. The leaders, we would all sponsor at least one of the initiatives, which
Yep.
meant we spent time with the teams, reviewing results, going through the plans, visiting stores, whatever the actual project was. Like I would go to the store at night when the store was closed. We would be looking at new supplies, new ways of cleaning floors, reducing supply costs in the store. And then we would spend a whole day once a month, the entire leadership team reviewing every single project. You don't get to leave and go out and do emails or have a meeting, button seat all day long, going through all the initiatives and having real talk, real conversations, real questions, not conversations outside of the room. We solve problems in the room. We resource those projects in the room. We call people out. If we hear the same thing twice, 2 months in a row, like, oh, I don't have any IT resources. Well, guess what? I also manage IT. So people would look at me and go, Anne, what gives? Like, they need help. And it was real, and we got stuff done, and we let people into the conversation. It wasn't closed doors because we were role modeling the
Oh,
type
so
of
energizing.
behavior. And so that then created this movement. We took this program of work. It went to Japan, Brazil, the US. We were digging deep and looking at things that were sacred cows
Mm.
for many years. And I think that's where Walmart as an organization, I mean, it's so tremendous, but in some ways needed a refresh when organizations
Sure.
are
I mean,
so
organizational
successful.
cycles. Okay.
Yeah. And then that led to the e-commerce role where we were brought together as a team under our new CEO. He selected key leaders around the Walmart universe to really work together that had a track record of working together in past roles because he knew that this was going to be a really, really difficult
Yeah.
transformational change. We needed people that already trusted each
Mm.
other and had demonstrated they could go through tough times together and really wring it out and grind it out and move the needle. There were times when I thought, wow, this is the biggest change management challenge of my career, and I don't know. It was like David and Goliath. That's how it felt sometimes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we broke through and it was pretty gritty. I have to say I'm pretty proud of what I'm seeing now. It's been a while since I was there, but I think we definitely planted the seeds of change.
What a master class, Anne, in leadership and change. That's amazing. I'm gonna listen to this over and over again. Good reminder of stuff I need to get back to. So I love, like, your background's been so varied and you've done so much as a leader. Your instinct, your gut, however you want to talk about it, is really well honed. Do you have a moment when you felt like it was the key linchpin to helping you with some kind of breakthrough or success?
I had been telling my boss that I wanted to be a global leader. And what that meant for me was not dialing it in from the US and managing a global business. I had to live up to that when I was offered this opportunity to go to China and become the CFO there. Honestly, Julie, as you know, I'm a very thoughtful person and I'm very analytical and I like to observe. But in that moment, I said, I'm going to do it. We're going to go. I had to work things out with my husband, but uh, I just didn't overthink it. I knew that everything I had done prior to that moment brought me to that place. And I had the right sponsorship. If you had seen my resume to that point, there's no way I would have gotten that job from the outside, but I had the sponsorship. And what I was being asked to do, I knew I could do, and I could learn the other part. I was given a lot of autonomy, but a lot of support and I also didn't overuse it. I was coached Everyone's watching, so you have to be wise about when you call in the favors. I think it's balancing both the analytics and the intuition. And if your gut tells you something very strongly, you need to listen. There have been times when I haven't, and I've used the head to override the heart, and I've regretted it later.
Anyone who says they're a leader and doesn't admit to that is probably not being honest. You have to learn to trust that instinct because you have so much to learn in life. But there comes a point where you're like, I'm generally I got a sense of where this should go.
Mhm, mhm.
And we've on some of our investments, that's kind of where we've landed. It's like, I don't feel good about this. There's something off, whether I got all the data to support it or not. Uh,
That's right.
we're almost out of time. Can I do a lightning round with you with a bunch of fast questions?
Sure.
If you can give people a piece of advice or inspiration to start investing in themselves, what would it be?
Start investing. Invest in something that you believe in. I always feel like if I can get excited about the company, I'm a consumer of the company, I naturally just want to follow it.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be a better investor in something that you personally enjoy and believe in. Even, there's so much hype around, technologies and AI. We look at a lot of investments, but we look at like, what's the use case?
Yeah.
How is it being applied? It's got to be something that you can understand. Warren Buffett this week decided to retire, and there's been a lot written about him. I do appreciate that style of investing, which is be excited about what you're investing in, believe in it, and believe in the leadership.
Do you have a song that gets you pumped up for a big day?
Oh, you're going to laugh. There's Girl on Fire,
Yeah.
Alicia Keys,
Uh,
and Dark Horse, Katy Perry.
okay.
And, the dark horse is because I think as an Asian American, I look a certain way, I have a certain stature, I get a lot of biases that I have to deal with, and so the dark horse, I sort of feel like I've been called the iron fist in the velvet glove, and so that's another form of that. Mhm.
Yeah. Hence the people coming to your dinner. Do you have a book that you recommend to female leaders?
Well, since we're on this topic of investing and finance, I read a book recently that I thought, why am I reading this book? But once I read it, it's called Financial Intelligence by Karen Berman. It's from the Harvard Business School Press. What I love about it, Julie, is that it is so common sense. And there's a part of it that talks about the types of ratios and things that you need to look at to really get underneath a business and understand how it's performing. Because GAAP results, generally accepted accounting principles, there's a lot of interpretation. It's coming from an audit chair. It's a snapshot in time. But if you do the analysis and you compare it to benchmarks and comps in the space, you'll learn a lot. It's so practical, and it was a great refresher for me in a very practical way. So,
Isn't that
if
great
someone's
when you're
looking,
like, "You're right. I know this. Let me make sure
I
I
should know
to make
this.
it."
And you're like,
Well, you
wow,
gotta
this is
know
a
it,
whole
but
different
you're
lens.
using it all the time. Do you have a
Yeah.
personal motto, Anne?
I was told this by a boss who I love working with, and I use it all the time because we've got so many pressures and priorities. It goes, do only what only you can do. Do only what only you can do. And what that essentially means is really think about how you spend your time, your energy. What are you uniquely qualified to do? And delegate the rest. Trust in your team and involve yourself in those things where you need to get involved. And I think, Julie, you do a great job of that. I mean, what are those things where you have to be there, you have to be involved with, and what are the other ones where you can delegate? Because
You
people
gotta
won't
trust the people
learn,
around you.
they
Yeah,
won't
if you
learn
can
how to
spend
scrimmage. You got to let them do
yeah.
if you're going to bring up the next generation of leaders. Just because you've done it before and you know how to do it doesn't mean you should keep doing it.
And how can people find you?
On LinkedIn.
This has been a master class in leadership strategy and the kind of authentic, visionary, and values-based leader that we all aspire to be. Thank you so much, Anne, for your partnership and for sharing with everyone today. We are lucky all 600 LPs are so lucky to have you helping these portfolio companies and helping our firm be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. I enjoyed it so much.